This is One on One.
Brothers, take a look at us.
Take a look at us.
It's been ever thus since boarding school began.
Women are too complex.
Women too often vex. Men are the simpler sex.
It's better with a man.
Better with a man.
Better with a man.
Better with a man. Bottoms up!
That's good stuff. That was from A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. And right there, put the camera on this guy. He is Jeffrey Mays, actor in this terrific play. You play 8 roles in this.
Yes, 8 different members of the same family.
And they're not all men.
No, they're two women.
What's the whole premise here?
Well, it's a story about our hero, Monty Navarro, who's a nice middle-class boy from Edwardian London. Who,
By the way, excuse me, it's Jefferson.
Jefferson,
Yes.
yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
Jefferson
Happens all the
Mays.
time.
Okay.
A nice boy from Edwardian London discovers that his late mother was a noblewoman, cruelly shunned by her aristocratic family for marrying beneath her station. And he also discovers that he himself is in line to inherit the title and a vast fortune. And the only problem being there are 8 other people, played by me, standing in his way. So, like any enterprising, sensible chap, he decides to murder them all. And that's comedy.
Well, of course it's comedy. When you read the script, you said, it's for me?
I did. I fell in love with it. Largely because I got to play all these fantastic, colorful characters. I think that's an actor's dream.
But you have a history. In 2004, you win, right, the Tony?
Yes.
For a play you played 37 characters?
37 characters.
Put that in context. I Am My Own Wife.
I Am My Own Wife, which was the story of a gay 65-year-old East German transvestite who survived the Nazis and the communists, living openly as a cross-dresser.
And you read that and you go,
That has me all over it. Yes. No, I read that and I was horrified, but I had to do it because it was just so improbable.
and okay, first of all, the costume changes go back to this one, right?
Yes.
The costume changes for the 8 roles, 2 of whom are women.
Yes.
You got to describe that for us.
I'm not sure that I can because it happens so fast.
How
and in the
fast?
dark. Some
Whoa,
of them,
whoa, in the dark.
In the dark,
You. Go ahead.
yes. Some of them just a matter of seconds. Some happen on stage. A little curtain comes in and then goes out again, and there I am transformed. But I owe everything. I think I owe my entire performance to my 3 and sometimes 4 dressers. And it's a whiplash-inducing experience that I've never experienced before. I finish a scene, I hurl myself into the darkness, 4 people descend upon me, tear my clothes off, put me into other clothes, rip off a mustache, put on a wig, squirt water in my mouth, and shove me bodily back onto the stage.
Hold on, you're talking about acting or the Indianapolis 500
Exactly.
in a pit crew?
Precisely. They are the pit crew at the Indy 500. Yeah.
And when you come out there, because sometimes, because I'm not a big, indie guy, but I know that sometimes the wheels are not on right.
Sometimes
Is everything
my
on
wheels are-
together? Your wheels
more
on
or
right?
less, more or less. One time, early days, a mustache refused to stay on my face, so I had to eat it.
What do you mean you had to eat
I
it?
just ate it. What else do you do? It got a laugh.
Of course it did. And here's the thing, I was just talking to you about this before we got on the air. Keeping the character straight, 8.
Yes.
How challenging?
It was tricky. I'm better at it now. But early days, Julian, my dresser, sometimes had to whisper to me who I was in the dark before pushing me onto the stage.
Wow. This is fascinating. And the other thing I was saying to you that I'm curious and I want you to share with everyone here. When did you know, growing up in Connecticut,
Yes.
when did you know, hey, I want to perform on stage, I want to act?
I think at a very early age, and then I forgot it for a number of years. But I had this weird sort of epiphany in which a little voice in my head said, if all else fails, you can become an actor. And
No, wait. You told me before, you're out there, there's a butterfly.
that sounds sort of spooky.
No,
I was
you got to
taking
say
a
that. You can't say that
beautiful-
off
all right,
air.
I'm going to tell you the spooky story. I was taking a beautiful autumnal walk with my mom.
what walk?
An autumnal walk in the fall.
I'm from New Jersey, and that word is not allowed.
Sorry.
Autumnal?
Autumnal walk, a walk in the fall, down to see the monarch butterfly migration.
Okay.
They inhabited this tree. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen against this blue autumn sky, all these butterflies. And that moment of arrest in front of such a beautiful sight, I had this little voice in my head saying, if all else fails, you can become an actor. And it seemed so true to me. And I told my mother, and she said, don't you dare, that's crazy. But then, lo and behold, years later, I fell into it in college and just have never been more joyful in my life.
The biggest influences in your professional life?
My parents. They read aloud to me as a kid, and I think that was my first introduction to performance. Our television fell off the table sometime during the Vietnam War and got caught up in the dog running under it. And so my parents got out some of their favorite books and read to us after dinner every night. Lots of Charles Dickens, James Thurber. And I just remember my mother's face changing when she was reading different characters. And I was fascinated and kind of spooked by that. And that, I think, was my first introduction to theater. Because what is theater, after all? It's an actor telling a story to an audience. And that's essentially reading aloud.
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness was a boyhood hero of mine. And I indeed saw the film Kind Hearts and Coronets, based on the same source material as A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. I saw that when I was about 9 and fell in love with him. And,
Why?
Because, again, he was such a transformative actor. He played all the members of this family, and he had the benefit of prosthetics. But I thought it was amazing that this one guy could do all these characters. And I think at that point I sort of fell in love with acting.
It's interesting that you see people as a younger person doing something that inspires you and motivates you, and you say, I want to do that or something like that.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
I think it does. I think what we're exposed to as children certainly affects who we are in life, but I just remember never getting more excited by things than I was in elementary school or middle school or even high school, before the brain fully forms. You're so receptive to things, and that's why I think, having exposure to art in school at that age is so important.
And finally, this play is important and special. By the way, people can see it where?
It is playing at the Walter Kerr Theater on 48th Street, Broadway.
And people should see it, and it's special because? Other than the fact that you're in it?
Other than that, it's just a rollicking good time. It's just delightful to see an audience come in and sit down and then succumb to the delights and the spell of this play, which leaves everyone feeling pretty much uniformly joyful.
And the other cast?
The other cast, the great Bryce Pinkham, who plays the evil Monty Navarro, who kills me.
He was in the clip?
Yes, he was. He was in that clip. It's an extraordinary ensemble. Lisa O'Hare, who's making her Broadway debut as the devious Sibella, and Lauren Worsham, who's a preternaturally talented soprano and opera singer who's playing Phoebe Dysquith.
Last question. Being a working actor, I know that sounds like a cliche, right?
Or an oxymoron. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
To be a working actor.
Yeah.
I think just that. It doesn't matter where you're working. If you're playing Hamlet in Fairbanks, Alaska, I mean, that's a fantastic thing. It's just to be working. I mean, we're so lucky. I'm so lucky to be simply working at all. I mean, I'm on Broadway, and that's the icing on the cake, but I just love to work and seize any opportunity.
Yeah. Like being a working broadcaster, talking to fascinating people like you.
Oh.
Jefferson Mays, who is an actor starring in A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, playing at
the Walter Kerr Theater at 48th Street and Broadway.
We wish you nothing but the best, Jefferson.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Steve.
for joining us here on public television.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. Funding has been provided by Barnabas Health, Berkeley College, the law firm of Gibbons PC, United Water, Wells Fargo, Verizon Communications, and by New Jersey Natural Gas. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been made possible in part by the Adler Aphasia Center.